Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. This is a coaching session for Monday, April 13th. Myself, Hayden Chase Kuzma. I'm here with,
I'm Josh Wolpert.
and we'll be hosting your coaching sessions moving forward for the next 2 weeks or so. Just a reminder, these are completely interactive, so I recommend you join with your questions and concerns you have leading up to the role play. And it's our job to help you feel as prepared as you possibly can for these. And we strive to make sure that happens. And we think we have a pretty good background to help you get there. So what our plan is today, since we didn't get too many participants or questions, is we're going to walk through the role play rubric, explain each section, what it means, and then maybe some stories we have about each of them, and any news that we do find relevant to share with you guys. So before we get started here, we're each going to share a little bit about ourselves and why we think we have the right credentials to talk to you guys and can share some insights. So Josh will start us off there.
Yep. So like you said, we just wanted to give a quick introduction of our experience with sales and why you should believe that we can help you. So like I said, my name's Josh Wolpert, and when I first came to BG, I got involved with a sales club here that was formerly known as the Sales Leaders and Consultants and has now been rebranded to the Academy of Professional Selling. So I've been involved in that club for 3 years now, and through that, I've learned a lot about the sales process, had a lot of experience with it. Most of that experience coming through sales competitions like the BGSU sales competition, as well as some external ones like Ball State, Toledo, as well as this year I participated in the National Collegiate Sales Competition. So overall, I've probably done like 5 or 6 of these sales competitions. So I've had plenty of experience going through some of these rubrics and knowing what judges are looking for and really what is important when you're going through a sales competition format like this one. So moving forward, I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have about this one.
Great. Thanks, Josh. So I'm Hayden Chase Kuzma. I'm a similar path as Josh, competed in numerous sales competitions. I'm currently the president of the Academy of Professional Selling. I also started in Slack when it was called Sales Leaders and Consultants. And next year, Josh and I will be manning ship for APS, so we're excited. And if you have any interest in sales, please feel free to stop over and join the meetings. But yeah, I competed in numerous sales competitions as well, and I'm now on a coaching path. I've been coaching these for almost a year and a half now, so I enjoy giving directions on students eager to learn sales. So we're going to jump into this here. We're going to start. I'm just going to read through each of them, and then we'll break them down one by one. So first we have the approach, then we have needs identification, product presentation, overcoming objections, the close, communication skills, and then lastly an overall segment, which is product knowledge. Josh, let's start with approach and talk about approach, what it means, and what has given so much success to you.
Yep. So approach, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, and it kind of depends on the competition. Some competitions, and I'm not sure how King feels about it, they kind of let you make something up. So you could say, hey, I saw last week on LinkedIn you were in a conference out in California, and ask about something like that. But if they want to keep it strictly to what's in the case, usually there's some sort of thing that talks about like their education history or previous interactions you've had with them, maybe previous interactions with other people from the company. So a lot of times it's easy to tie things like that just to get a little bit of an introduction and just kind of lean into a normal conversation. Approach doesn't have to be too complicated. It's really just like if you were meeting someone out on the street, you're just kind of chatting it up a little bit, really introducing yourself, getting familiar. So you're not selling to a stranger, you're selling to someone you at least know a little bit. And really what this approach does after that is you kind of build that rapport, and then you start transitioning into needs identification. So in this approach, you also want to be covering things like your upfront agreement, like Merle has taught us, as well as things like checking to make sure you have the correct time for the meeting, checking to make sure that the decision-making process is all squared away so you know what the end goal is for the meeting you're currently having.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. And to kind of piggyback on your thought process there is, A personal thing I like to do is always maybe make it humorous or enjoyable. You know, people are sitting here watching 30, 40, 50 role plays a day. Try and stand out a bit, you know, make it unique, make it personable. I know the one that Josh and I posted on YouTube recently that you all should go check out. We had fun. It was like a conversation at the beginning of the role play. It was really laid back. I find a lot of people coming in and they have such a robotic and stiff approach with these role plays. You know, it's how's business, how's your weekend, how's your day. Like it's very stiff. If you lay back and have some fun and get imaginative and creative with this, because at the end of the day, this whole role play is made up. So you know, have some fun, let loose, and let your true colors show. But yeah, I completely agree. Upfront agreement should absolutely be included in this approach. I love every aspect of that. Anything else you want to add for approach, Josh?
I think that pretty much covers it. Just one last thing would be not to spend too much time on it. You only have 15 minutes, which might sound like a lot when you've never done one before, but especially with a product like Gartner, you'll realize that you run out of time pretty quick. So you usually want to keep approach to 2 minutes, maybe a little bit over, and then start transitioning to the needs. So
Absolutely. So next we have needs identification. So I'll kind of give a baseline for it, and then Josh will get into the nitty gritty about this. This is why we sell. I think needs identification is easily has to be one of the most important sectors of sales, because this is the part where you're understanding your client's goals, objectives, challenges, any problems they currently have, so you could tailor your solution to them. So the needs identification, you really want to obtain that clear understanding of the customer situation. So in this process, you always want to start off with uncovering the decision process. And that is a simple statement of, hey, Josh, tell me about your decision process when implementing a new product. It's something very simple like that. Is a baseline you could use. After that, you're just asking questions, goals, challenges, problems they're facing, timelines, all that stuff to really understand the current scenario and where Gartner can fit in to help solve their current task they're tailed with. Josh, you
Mhm.
want to piggyback on anything I said there?
Yeah, so obviously you just covered a lot of good information. One thing that I think's been really important for the competitions that I've done is really focusing on what we call peeling back the onion. So you might ask a question like, what are some things that you're working on right now, Hayden? And he could give me an example. It could be whatever. But then really, instead of just having a list of like maybe 5 questions you want to ask, based on what Hayden would tell me, I would try and dig deeper about that pain point that he currently brought up. So if he's maybe working on integrating a new system or something, I could ask, how's that going? If there's any challenges. I think really peeling back that onion and then figuring out maybe what could happen as a result of accomplishing these goals, not accomplishing goals. These are all really important things to ask because it creates some urgency to the conversation. It really makes them realize that they might need a solution that you're offering. So I think that's really some important things, as well as the last thing here on the rubric for the section, which says gaining pre-commitment / agreement to consider product that would address needs. So usually when you ask some of these questions, you also want to follow up with maybe a little soft close like, so Hayden, if I could show you a way that we could help you get this project up and running by the summer, would you find value in that? So just something like that that's real small that gains a little bit of pre-commitment from them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I also want to reiterate, I don't know if you touched on it or not, but the what if questions and how important those are. Asking, you know, what if we don't get this installed by said date? What if we don't fix this issue you're currently tasked with? Those questions are huge in this section, just because at the end of the day, it's going to come back to closing the deal and creating some sort of urgency behind it. So that was great, Josh. Thank you.
Yep.
Next, we have product presentation. So this is the fun part. This is where you can get involved with the buyers and really put your personal flair in it once again and show them what we've been studying for the past, you know, month or so working on this product. So Josh, walk us through product presentation.
Yeah, so really what product presentation comes down to is the main thing is there's going to be a lot that you're going to learn about what Gartner for CIOs does. There's going to be way too much information to cover in the probably 5 minutes you'll have to present the product. So what's important to remember with product presentation is really tying back what you uncover in the needs. So when you're asking the questions and you figure out that Maybe Hayden's really stressed out because he's got to get a product up and running and he has no strategy and he has no one to talk to about it. That might point to a specific aspect of the product that you really want to zone in on. So not that the other things aren't important, but you would really want to cover that one first and then judge your time based on what's remaining. Really just focusing on what he tells you in the needs identification is what you want to focus on in the product presentation. So with that being really what I think is the most important thing, if Hayden has anything else to add about products, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think what I see a lot in these competitions and with a lot of our new competitors, Josh, is not involving the buyer enough. It's a lot of talking and one-sided conversation. I think a lot of people get so worked up about throwing the product because they're like, wow, this is a great fit. I'm so excited for this. They just start spewing facts and information like a fire hose. And that's a lot to digest. It's a lot to digest as a buyer. So if you take a step back and present one of your huge facts and why you're so excited to get this Gartner implemented with their business, take a step back and say, so how could you see this benefiting your business? Have them sell the product to you on why they think it's a great fit. Have them talk more than you're talking here. Your product should talk for itself, and have them giving you affirmations and nonverbals of nodding and excitement as you're talking is so effective in this situation. So that's something I see not used enough, and it's such a powerful tool that I think you and I both use very well. And it's why we found such success in these competitions. So yeah, that's my one grain of gold that I want to share with the class is just really involve your buyer and have them give you those nonverbals that they're excited about the product.
Yep, I would totally agree with that. That's a very good point.
All right, so moving right along here, we have overcoming objections. By far the most missed, the hardest, and the one I see everyone struggle with, no matter how tenured you are in sales in the collegiate competitive era. I mean, I still struggle with these time to time. It's just hitting each of these checkboxes, we like to call it. So each checkbox is to clarify, overcome, and confirm. So to give you an example of that is, Josh, do you mind walking them through an example? I'm going to give you an objection real fast.
Yep, that's no problem.
All right, Josh, I don't have time for this product.
All right, Hayden. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you see some of the value in it. You're just worried about not having enough time maybe to do some of the research yourself. Is that correct?
That's correct. And everyone, that was an example of a clarification. Once again, an example of a clarification right there from Mr. Wolpert. All right, moving along.
And then you move on to overcoming it. So I would say something along the lines of, with this product Gartner for CIOs, there's an executive partner.
Yep.
So I might say, Hayden, so really what we can do here with this product is, like I said before, you'll have this executive partner. So while you might not have time to do all the research yourself, you're going to have this partner that's going to be able to walk you through some of the most important articles he would recommend, maybe some of the most important topics that you should be researching. So he's going to help save you a lot of time. So you're going to get all that value as well as saving the time that I know is very valuable to you. Does that feel? Yep. So that's the overcome. And then you just want to finish with a little confirmation that it's overcome. So I'd say something like, does that help you feel a little bit better about that worry?
Absolutely. It's completely alleviated, Josh. Thank you. So yeah, that's a grade A example of overcoming objection. I would spend a lot of your time working on that so you hit all three of those points and you get full credit for that. That's missed a lot, and that's a great way to differentiate yourself when competing in these competitions is hitting those check boxes. Josh, anything you want to touch on with the overcoming objections?
Yeah, I just think one of the most important things with that, to be able to really knock it down. I know when I first started doing these, I had a lot of trouble with it. And I think it's just because, you're in the room, you're a little nervous, and you kind of get blindsided sometimes. So I think just whenever you're kind of at that product presentation part of the role play, and if they ask you a question or seem hesitant, it's just good to calm yourself down a little bit and just remember the three words: clarify, overcome, and confirm. I think when you're a little too rushed and a little too worried, then that's kind of when you forget and can forget some steps. So just calm yourself down when you have some objections. It's not the end of the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I find a lot of times, we get nervous in there, Josh. We're a couple of nervous guys when we're making sales.
Oh, I am.
Yeah, Josh is a very nervous guy when making a sale. So that just happens. So we're moving along here. You've gone through approach, you've gone through needs identification, you've presented your product, you've overcome the objection. Now comes the easiest part of the sale, in my opinion. Once it's all done, you have affirmation, you have the nonverbals. They're excited. You're excited. You're at the close, which is 10% of your whole role play. So it's not an insane amount of points, but it's still a crucial point. Because if you don't get the close, you don't close the sale. What were you doing for the last 15 minutes, Josh? You clearly weren't doing your job. You clearly
Good
weren't doing
point.
your job. So the close, Josh, walk us through what a close means to you and what you found success in.
So I think that if you put enough work into the role play and the practice, by the time that you get to the close, you should pretty much be closing or it should be closing itself, because the way that you lay everything out, they should already see the value in what your product has to offer. So by the time you get there, you already have a persuasive reason to show them that they need the product. So really all you got to do is set up a date and a time and just make sure that they're okay with that. And it's really important to make sure that you're the one sending them an invite. It's really important that you're the one reaching out to them to make sure you're setting up the appointment. Because if you leave it up to them, it might never happen. That's something that's really important to remember in sales.
Absolutely. And it's always tough because I find at the end of these, they'll sometimes throw the curveball where they go, "Hey Josh, this all sounds good, but I'll give you a call next week." I'll give you that call, Josh. What would you do in that scenario if I just said, "Hey, I'll give you that call, Josh. I'll call you next week"?
So once again, while it doesn't sound quite exactly like some other objections, that is an objection in itself. So you want to go through your 3 steps. You want to clarify, overcome, and confirm. So I would say something along the lines of, okay, so you do want to set up the meeting. You just aren't sure that this time's going to work. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's fine.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I know that I talked to your secretary. She said Wednesdays usually work. So I'll throw something up for lunch. I can bring some tacos in. We'll just have a good time, have a little lunch, some chatter, and then we'll move on with the meeting from there. If we need to change the date, you can always shoot an email to me after this, but I'd really like to just get something on the calendar. So how's Wednesday sound?
Wednesday works for me, Josh. I appreciate that. I'm excited for those tacos too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, so there it is. It's very easy. It's just, you don't take no for an answer and make sure you get a good date down. Because
Yep.
you're going to see our face if you like it or not. We're coming to close this deal. That's how it is. That's how we do it here. But all right, so we're moving right along. This is another very important part. So the sale's closed. You've done everything correct, but unfortunately, just having the books behind sales and knowing what the process is isn't going to get you too far. You have to have that flair, that touch, and a great nonverbals that we talked about here. So for 15% of your grade is going to be communication skills. And this is just using those effective nonverbals. And this is a great learning task for us as students because we're virtual now. And I think when we get into the workforce, whether that's sales or supply chain or accounting or production or anything, you're gonna spend some time on the computer, and you might do some more of these Zoom calls. We're in an interesting spot right now where business could change, and I think this is definitely a valuable option. Is having these Zoom calls. So I would take this as a great practice for your professional careers when you do these communication skills. So that's active listening. I know we're on a call and there's tons of distractions. You have your dogs running around and your parents and family and your sisters and brothers are all home. But find a nice spot to do this role play. Go in your room, go somewhere secluded and have this call where you can actively engage with the person you're talking to. I read an interesting article the other day, and it's when you're on these calls, we all spend a lot of time looking at the screen and looking at the other person's face. When you are talking, you want to try and make the point to look into the webcam. So look at the black dot on the top of your computer or at your phone. That'll represent eye contact in a sense when you're talking to someone, which I find very difficult to do sometimes because it is a bit awkward. But when you do it, it is noticed by the person you're talking to, and it makes it a little more engageful. So just remember that because that shows a nice way of showing appreciation for someone you're talking to, especially if it's a client when you get to the professional level. And then those nonverbals of just head nods and facial gestures, because once again, you're not there to actively show you're listening. So it's important to have these conversations and nod and look around and just show that you are following what they're saying and you're showing confidence when you're talking. I think that's really important too as well. So yeah, Josh, I know that was a lot. So just add on to that with all in what you found success in.
I mean, I think you covered it really well. Just one more thing to tack onto that confidence at the end. I know for me, I was definitely really nervous my first role play. I'd never done something like it before, so it was definitely a new experience. And I think really how you get that confidence is just with the practice. Now I can run through anyone and feel pretty confident that I know what I'm doing, and that's just because I've had the experience. So I know you only got a couple weeks, but I would say just try and get as much practice in with that partner as you can, because you'll feel more comfortable on that. More comfortable. You'll feel more comfortable. You'll feel more comfortable on the day that you actually do it for your final, and I think that'll show with some of the confidence as well.
Absolutely, and I think that was a great example there, Josh. You're comfortable. We're gonna mess up on a few. We're gonna mess up on a few of these words. That happens, but you got to roll with it. You got to crack a joke and keep going. Don't get too knocked down about this stuff, because it does happen. But lastly, to just brush up here, we have product knowledge, and this is a small percentage of the grade. We don't expect you to be product experts on Gartner by any means. It's such an extensive product and business. I interned there last summer, and I still battle with understanding everything they do just because of how involved in their sectors they are. They have such a vast variety of research available for companies. So it takes, I would say, almost 2-3 years to become well acquainted with their products, and they have a wonderful training program. But us as students let's understand a baseline of Gartner and understand the documents Merle did send over. I do recommend to review those extensively. Having a great amount of knowledge in your back pocket is extremely helpful when doing these sales competitions, just because you're going to have that confidence when presenting and answering those objections. And trust me, it shows. I mean, when you see someone who doesn't know the product present versus someone who knows it like the back of their hand, you're going with the guy who knows it 100% of the time. You could just tell on his face and how he talks and how they do present. So it's very, very helpful to know your product. Josh, carry on with that.
I mean, I think you really hit on everything there. I just think, like you said, the better understanding of a product, the more confident you'll be, the more able you'll be to answer any objections that come your way. And Gartner is a complicated product. That was the case for NCSC this year. So definitely you're just going to have to spend some time, just sit down for an hour and look over some of the handouts, some of the information about Gartner that you can find, and just really get the best understanding of what they do as you can.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's the rubric here. We just walked through that, really broke it down for you guys. I hope that helped in a sense. And next week, Tuesday at 1 p.m., you can find us here again. You can come with your questions, but we will walk through a little podcast kind of representation again here and give you guys some direction and hopefully answer any questions you guys have. So come prepared with your questions and concerns next week. We'd be more than happy to help you there. And also shoot Josh or I an email if you want to set up a time on Zoom to maybe run through your role plays and get some feedback. We'd be more than happy to help you with that. And our emails are listed on Canvas, I believe. So you guys can reach out to us there. But Josh, to finish off the call today, give us your best story from a sales role play that you have, or any sales story that you have.
That's a tough one. I'm going to need a minute to think. Do you have one on the top of your head?
I guess I could just throw one in. I could just throw us in there. So I think my best story was just this recent year when we competed at the University of Toledo sales competition. We had two competitors that really had no sales collegiate competitive level background at all. They were coming this blind, and we were like maybe 3-4 weeks out. And we worked together. I mean, Josh competed, so he knows the work ethic that we have at UT. He competed the year prior. So we were practicing, 2-3 days a week and getting down to the nitty gritty of the product. And we ended up placing second overall out of 40 to 50 schools, which is unbelievable. I think just the level of preparation we had of only 3 to 4 weeks. We did phenomenal. I was so proud of that. I think it's so cool to see someone who can learn sales that quickly, and our programs here at BG definitely help you get there. So that was really neat. Time and time again with these competitions, BG's got some of the lowest resources, but we have some of the highest competing students. We'll end in the top 5% over at most of the competitions we go to. We're really high respected around the collegiate sales community. So it's really awesome to be a part of this.
Yeah, that's good. let's see, I'll give, I think one of my favorite memories from my sales competitions was my very first one. So the first one that I did was an external competition at Ball State University, which Hayden, he was competing in the competition round, and I was in a developmental round for people whose first time it was. And Hayden was able to take home the gold. He won that competition for the competitive division. And then I was able to win my room and win the developmental one. So I think that was a big confidence booster for me. And it was also good to share some success with Hayden. I think it was a really good experience. And it's kind of what led me down the path of really enjoying these sales competitions and sales in general.
Absolutely. A lot of fun. So if you have any interest in these sales competitions, reach out to Josh or I. We'd love to get you introduced with the group at the Academy of Professional Selling and get you on the road to securing a top-line internship, job, or even getting your foot in the door with sales. We'd be more than happy to do that for you guys. So once again,
Yep.
thanks for watching and listening. And we're going to be back here next week at 1 o'clock, Tuesday at 1 o'clock, to answer any questions, concerns, and walk through another step. So I appreciate you guys watching today, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.